Hi, and welcome back to Real Estate Made Simple. I'm your host, Rick Bosley, and today is open houses. So we're going to talk to you about the preparation, the before, the during for the conversion, the follow-up to find the buyers and sellers from open houses. And if you are in the business of real estate and you are not maximizing at least booking one appointment from every open house, you're going to want to stay tuned. Hi, and welcome back. My name is Rick Bosley, the owner-operator of the Bosley team and 3L Coaching. And today, I'm talking about open houses. And I love this conversation because right next to our sphere of influence, to me, this is the best, the fastest, the most lucrative way to build a business, to build a pipeline, to get clients under contract. And I'm not just talking about buyers here. I'm talking about sellers as well. We're going to give you the exact open house. We're going to give you some scripts, some systems, some mindset around how you can dominate, take market share, and close 36 transactions in 12 months just with doing open house preparation. If you like what you hear today, please do me a favor and comment and subscribe and share it with a friend. Archive it, listen to it over and over again. We really do like it. We want to share this medium, but if you share it, then we can only get bigger and bigger and faster and stronger. So thanks for being here. Let's get into it. We're continuing our journey through 36-12-3, which is a course by Keller Williams University, and we take it and we concise it. So we'd say this episode is inspired by that course, and we're going to talk about the open houses. Again, what are we doing to prepare for the open house? What are we doing during the open house? And how can we convert and follow up after the open house? So here's why we're here. We're looking to take an event called an open house, and with it, we have reasons to send messages out to people. We have reasons to call people, to text people, to write notes to people, to door knock to people, do marketing, flyers, emails. And the reason is the open house. So I want you to treat the open house like an event that you're prepping and planning for. I've seen so many agents, they treat an open house like it's a Saturday afternoon showing, right? And they think about doing it. They put a couple signs out. They do the open house and they sit there in their hands and they're discouraged because only 1 or 3 people showed up and most of them already had a Realtor. This is not going to be that open house. This is going to be the open house that if you can commit to this schedule, it can actually occupy and you can spend the majority of your time that week lead generating, marketing, and prospecting around the open house. And then the big show is on that Saturday or Sunday. And guess what? You can do it on a Wednesday or a Friday. It doesn't matter. You want to go to where you're going to have most people showing it. So we're going to talk about how do we convert strangers who we don't know, that we can connect and build a relationship with at the open house, that we can convert into our sphere of influence after the open house. When people tell me open houses don't work, I look straight at their face and I go, they work. If they're not working for you, you are the common denominator, because open houses, I tell you, when you do them right, when you do them correctly, they work. Let's talk about why we're at an open house. Open houses, sometimes people think, is there to attract buyers. And you know what? You're right. We had a seller tell us recently, he'd be like, open houses, they really don't sell the house. For the most part, you're right. Do they attract buyers? Sometimes. Do they attract sellers? Oh, yeah. When a neighbor walks into an open house, there's a good chance they're going to be a seller. When a buyer walks into an open house, there's a good chance, in fact, 64% of people currently own a home. You think there's ever been someone who walks into an open house as a buyer, yet before they can buy, they must also sell? You are on stage for both buyers and sellers, and about 1% to 2% of people who walk into the open house, they will buy the open house. So the seller's kind of right. It's not there, yet we do it as our listing protocol because we want to make sure we are putting all of our resources in, and we do an open house at the beginning of our listing as a way to attract the neighbors because they're going to know somebody, and we want to let that seller know we're going to put your house on stage. That's why we do the open houses. So the answer, it's for both. It's for buyers and for sellers, both now and in the future. Let's think about some statistics. And this is straight from the National Association of Realtors. We're going to use 100 realtors because that represents 100%. 44% or 44 buyers out of 100 will have visited an open house. So 44% of people, when surveyed, when they closed their house, did you at any point of your search, did you visit an open house? 44 said yes, which means if you have 100 people walk through your open house, 100 people closing, 44 of them visited open houses. And of those 44, 5 of that 44, which is 1 out of 9 about, which is about 11%, So 11% of people walking through your open house will actually use you because it says 5% of people found their agent from an open house. So we take 100 total people who close in a house. 5% of them found their agent from an open house. That's not bad. That's not bad that you have a 1 in 20 shot. In fact, you have a 1 in 9 shot of people walking in that you'll be able to work with them. 39 buyers leave open houses or already represented by somebody or unrepresented. So 44 walk in, you get 5, you don't get 39. The problem is if you're not getting 44 people to walk through your open house, you're not getting that fair shot, fair opportunity. When I said statistically and over and over and over again, I would get 1 appointment from every open house, I was averaging 8 to 12 people walking through my open house every time. And of that 8 to 12, we only needed 1, and that was 1. So if I was behind on my appointments, go do an open house, go do 5 open houses, go sit in an open house. Because why wouldn't you want to sit where you can attract people? Now, we're going to talk about how can we maximize that. And the market's changed a little bit. Right? When I started doing open houses in 2010, 2011, it was foreclosed. It was investor specials. Some people didn't have money. There were short sales. Everything was vacant. Very, very different market than we're in now. Yet when I go back and do it now, it's the same game. Some of the numbers are different. Some of the stats are different. Some of the way in which people receive their information is different. But honestly, open houses are as lucrative as ever. So if you haven't heard me say it right now, open houses work. Put it in your business plan. Let's talk about some myths, and we'll debunk the myths around open houses. Myth number 1, open houses are only for new agents looking for buyers. False, false, false. Open houses need to be a part of your regular listing platform. Every time you take a listing, you're doing 1 to 2 open houses. It's a way to attract buyers and sellers. And if 44% of people who close on a house walk through an open house, why wouldn't you want to position yourself in front of them? It is going to be where people who are looking at houses go. I don't care if you're new. I'm going to say if you want to grow your business, then you should keep looking to meet new people who want to buy and sell. So are new people looking to grow their business? Yes. Are seasoned veterans looking to grow their business? If you're listening to this, you probably are. Because I'm thinking that people who don't want to grow their business aren't out there listening and watching YouTube-related content on how to close a business through open house. So there's the truth. They're for anyone who wants to continue to meet new people who want to buy and sell real estate. Myth number 2. You can't hold an open house if you don't have any listings. I've already alluded to that a little bit, that every single one of your listings you must do an open house on. Here's the cool thing, especially with a lot of companies now, and I'll speak for Keller Williams and a lot of other companies that I know through affiliated resources. You can borrow other agents' listings within the same brokerage and host an open house there. Same brokerage, a brokerage-related open house. You call that agent, you ask for a request. You might have to figure out some sort of share or split or resource, and you figure out that win-win. Yet if you don't have listings, go find listings that some of your counterparts, your allies, your colleagues in your office have, and ask to hold that open house. Even better, and this is just a tip I want to encourage, please don't be the agent that calls me up and says, ring, ring, hey, Rick, it's Steve. Do you have any open houses for me this weekend? That's going to exhaust me. That you're not doing yourself any favors, and you're just kind of going, do you have anything? Do you have anything? And don't walk up with your hands out. Instead, what I encourage you to do is go on the MLS, search your office's active listings, identify your criteria of your ideal open house, your location, non-gated community, close proximity to main roads, newer on the market, nice median to slightly above median price point. It's going to attract the most amount of buyers, able to put the signage out there. And of the 100 listings the office has, you might find 17 that all would be great candidates to host that open house. Then go call those agents, introduce yourself. That way you're not going to the same agent over and over and over again. You're seeking your open house, you're introducing yourself to that agent, and you're identifying if that win-win's there. 17, surely you can find one. Surely you can find one. So there you go. Go find your open houses that work for you. Myth number 3 is that agents sit in open houses. Those agents who sit in open houses are the ones who say, open houses don't work. Don't sit in an open house, work the open house. Work the open house before it starts, work the open house while it's there, and work the open house after it finishes. So don't sit in them, work them. Here's the model for the open houses. We want to prepare and promote. We want to qualify leads and build trust and build rapport during the open house. Once the open house is done, we're going to talk about that 8x8 follow-up system so we can stay in touch and convert these clients, because most of the conversion will happen after the open house is done. Our goal is to be the number one mind share and market share of agents in that open house. So let's talk session one. Prepare before the open house. Before the open house, we want to set up some goals. What do you really want from this open house? We already said it's to build clients, right? And there's a guy named Chris Suarez, and for him, he was looking to add 2 qualified people, usually in the form of a pipeline or an opportunity of people that said, I would be interested in buying or selling real estate. And he's going, can I add 2 great contacts to my database? And that was for him. And so he'd go out there and says, if I can just do 2. And he would start off doing 4 or 5 a week and add 10 qualified people and 40 people a month. Can you imagine what that could do for a pipeline? For me, it was book an appointment. I had the calendar wide open there, whether you use electronic calendar, whether you use a paper and pen calendar. I was there to book an appointment before I left that open house. So know what your goals are. Decide which house you're going to open. We already talked about the strategy to that. Go to your MLS and go find the houses that fit a great criteria. Stage the house that works for you. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, and we talk about in the house. We're going to stage it, know what the house is, prepare to build those relationships and have the necessary tools. You wouldn't go to a farmer's market and just have a blank table or sit in the back. You would have a booth and tablecloths and handouts and sign-in sheets and being professional. Understand what's in the neighborhood, who's in the neighborhood, the market reports for the neighborhood, listings that are in the neighborhood, just sold in the neighborhood. Be the expert, because if people are walking to that open house, there's a good chance they're going to be asking you about the neighborhood. So let's now chunk that down even further, setting some goals. How many leads, how many people, how many buyers, how many sellers, how many invitations can we get? Are you inviting people out to it? I just want you to have a plan of what makes today a success. I think so many times agents or anyone go into an activity, an event, an open house, a day of prospecting, a day of cold calling with 0 expectations and 0 goals, and they just finish the task, yet they can't really evaluate was it successful or not. So I'm going to encourage you, have some goals, know what you want to achieve. Ask your coach, is this doable? Am I thinking too big? Am I thinking too small? If you fall short of it, let's go, what can we tweak? What can we enhance? What worked well? Let's go double that down. So that's going to be setting your goals. We already talked about how to find that house that you want. Stage in the house, does it have curb appeal? If you're going to an open house, you kind of have an open house survival kit, especially if it's vacant, but usually not vacant in this day and age. There's a lot of owner-occupied or at least staged homes, but bring a broom with you, bring a vacuum with you, bring toilet paper with you, bring a gallon of water with you if the water happens to be off. Have the things, bring maybe a couple light bulbs. So if there's a light bulb out and you can switch the light bulb, you want it to display in the best setting, and that's part of that staging is keeping it clean, keeping it presentable. Have your open house checklist. What is your survival kit that you want there? Bug spray, that sort of thing. So like cockroach spray or ant spray, right? If you're listening to this and you're not in Florida, you don't have to worry about cockroaches. We do. We do in Florida. All right, preparing for the open house. What questions will you ask? Is there a sign-in sheet? What is the takeaway? What's the giveaway? What's the call to action so that you're ready to go into the open house? And then understanding what is the market doing? What are some active, some pending, some sold? There are some agents, I remember they used to have all of these similar houses just taped up against the wall when they'd come in. So agent or clients would walk in and say, well, this house isn't for me. And he'd say, well, look at the other similar houses in the area. Do you want to go look at any of those? Now, you might have to do that with a little bit of discretion, because if you're doing an owner-occupied house and that seller happens to walk in and they see you're advertising 7 other competitors' listings, not going to be so great. So you do this when it's more vacant. We want to convert. If the buyer says they're not going to buy that house, is not interested because they need a 4th bedroom that only has 3, no matter what happens, it's there. So now we shift away from looking to sell that house and going, how can we secure this client and possibly sell them another house? So you just think about those resources, understand what it is. You know, if they come in, they go, wow, this seems like a great deal. So-and-so house sold for $30,000 more than this is listed. What's the difference? You probably need to know the difference. This is part of that preparation. Understand some of those comps specifically in that neighborhood. When we think about preparing, what do buyers and sellers want to know? Schools, age of roof, HOA allowances and guidelines and restrictions. The 4-point inspection is just good to know. And the 4-point inspection is going to be the roof, the plumbing, the electrical, and the air condition. Know what the age is. What conveys? Does certain furniture stay or leave with the home? Do certain appliances come and go with the home? Is the price negotiable? Do we know when the kitchen was upgraded? All the things that they might want to know about the house. If you're the listing agent, you probably already know this, hopefully. If you're not, get that stuff from the listing agent, please. Don't go in blind. There's no better way to lose the faith and trust of a potential client than to not know any of these essential answers to the exact product that you were sitting in to sell. So understand what that is. When they come in, they might not realize it, but it is happening. Your interview starts in that moment, and you're having that job interview start in that moment. So understand some of the flaws. If you know it has wallpaper from 1964 and there's going to be a flaw around it, know that, you know what, we've already got it quoted. We can get this whole thing repainted wallpaper down for X $1,000, and the seller's already said they would contribute towards it. Have that solution so you are a solution-based agent, because you're going to stand out as someone who knows that market. What do sellers want to know? Price. How does this compare to their house? From ratio, from is this overpriced, underpriced? Does square foot matter? Does pool matter? Does condition matter? What are the comps? So when a neighbor walks in, there's a high likelihood that they're doing it because they're thinking of selling and they want to see how their house stacks up to you. Or they're thinking of remodeling, and it's a great time to build rapport and send them some contacts you have to help them remodel. Preparing for the open house, when you're looking at it, it is important to be safe. And this is just a good rule of thumb if you're listening to this, that you never want to pull into a driveway. If you pull in, then you've got to back out. It slows you down. If something happened, be safe out there. The world is getting crazy. The world is getting scary. So be safe, and you're going to go parallel with the driver's side closest to you. So if you have to run out of the house, this is for showing houses anywhere or holding open houses. You're running straight into your driver's side. You're taking off. You understand, and the exits they're unlocked. You never are the first one to enter a room that doesn't have an exit. This is some strategies to make sure you stay safe, make sure people know where you're at and who you're with. If you have a loved one or a peer, and you can set an alarm every 30 minutes just to drop a text, and if they don't text you, send someone out in that house and come check you. Those are some tips to help keep you a little bit safe as you're giving tours, showing homes, or doing the open house. Okay, so now we're thinking about prospecting and marketing for the open house. And the answer, you guessed it, it's both. So lead generation is doing both. When you hold an open house, we encourage you to knock on at least 50 to 100 doors in a solicitation-friendly way. Right? If it says no solicitation, then you've got to trust the rules and the guidelines of the neighborhood, and you have to take that risk upon yourself. When you knock on the open house, and this is a big one, go into it with the intention of finding people who are interested in buying and selling. Don't go with the intention of just promoting the open house. Remember, the open house is the reason that the conversation's easier. It's not the sole purpose of it. So knock, knock, knock. Hi, my name is Rick, and we're hosting an open house at your neighbor's house just down the street Saturday morning, and I wanted to introduce myself. Number one, because you're going to see some signs out. Number two, you're going to see some influx of traffic. I want you to understand what's going on. And if something were to happen, here's my card. Please call me and we can make sure we address it. In addition, and probably more important, is for the open house, we're going to have several people walk through. We average 10 to 15 people walking through the open house. Usually about 1 to 3% of people actually buy it. So there's a good chance those 15 aren't going to buy it. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But we're going to have an influx of buyers who are interested in a house like yours in this neighborhood. Have you thought about selling? If we were to have a buyer that we could possibly introduce you to, would that be of interest to you? Are you thinking about buying? Are you thinking about selling? Who do you know that would be interested in moving to this neighborhood? Do you want to invite them to the open house? So you're looking to going, are you interested in buying? Are you interested in selling? Sometimes I've heard from people that you do a VIP sneak peek for neighbors only. So we're hosting an open house from 11 to 1, and for our VIPs and for our neighbors, it is open 10 to 11, so you get the sneak peek. What's the difference? You pretty much just advertise general public 11 to 1, and then your personal invites get 10 to 11. Are you going to have some mimosas there? Perhaps. Is it a raffle that they could get? Perhaps. You can get that creativity of what you want. So if you come from 10 to 11, we are going to have a raffle as well. We're giving away X gift card or drawing for a quarterly event, whatever you want to do to create some additional incentives. That's some ways that you can do it. Your door knocking, you have a flyer there. Your flyer is the same message. Open house. Who do you know who wants to buy or invest in this area? Or have you thought about selling? We'll have an influx of buyers. The same message, different method. One method is door knocking. One method is door hanger or a flyer. In addition, we're going to attract the lead. So if they're not home, you drop the flyer. Signs, signs, signs. We want the signage out there. I like to work this with a Hansel and Gretel philosophy. Hansel and Gretel says you start at the house and then you go backwards to the main entrance. And every time there's a crossroads somewhere, you're going to drop a sign. Never make the driver wonder, should they go straight or right or left? I'm not sure. Tell them. Even if it's straight, you're going to put it straight. Every crossroad, every left, every right, you're going to do it. We like to flamingo the front yard, which is going to be a big, massive flag. If you have a tent with your name on it, maybe you put 5 or 6 signs in there. When we say flamingo the front yard, that's that old prank that you put the plastic flamingos. Flamingo it. Make sure people see it's an event happening. If you have balloons, maybe get a wacky inflatable arm man. Make it a fun event. Rule of thumb 1, never make them wonder, should I go right, left, or straight? Rule of thumb number 2, if it's a long, straight pathway, Hansel and Gretel, right? Let's drop the breadcrumbs. They should be able to look left and right and always see a sign. If they go too far and there's no sign, don't make them wonder how far is this thing. Keep them motivated. Drop another straight sign. Drop another straight sign. Drop another straight sign. So use signs. We've found it's pretty accurate that signs are a major attractor to people who are not represented by agents, which is potentially what we want to attract new people. And it seems to be a pretty good ratio of 1 to every 2 to 3 signs. If we put out 25 signs, we'll get that 12 people walking in from the signs. If we put out 6 signs, we'll get 3. More signs you have, more people you attract, more people you retain that think about it and go there. So also when you have signs, all the neighbors who aren't interested or can't go to the open house, they're seeing your name. They got your flyer 2 days ago. If it's your listing, they're going to get your just sold postcard. You're going to get the circle prospecting, and you'll be able to really get some mind share in that neighborhood. Signage matters when you think about how to design it. The whole point of the sign is to tell them it's the open house. Maybe you give them the phone number and your brand name, especially if you're farming it. Having your logo on there is going to be, because we want to get that consistent. This is that team again. This is that agent again. Make it big. Don't make details. They're driving at 35 miles an hour. Don't put your entire resume in that sign. Open house, phone number, name, logo, arrow. That's it. Less is more. We want them to see your name, but also not be confused of what is happening. Invest in a large quantity. Just know, especially in areas here in Central Florida, the county's going to take them. Neighbor's going to take them. It's a cost of doing business, right? So get signs, have an excess, buy them in bulk, store them, be ready to go. Here's a good tip. The county will only take signs that are on county property. Sometimes there's private property. Now, I think it's kind of rude to put it in somebody's yard, but what a great opportunity to knock on the door, introduce yourself. I'm hosting an open house and it's just down this street. Do you mind if I put this sign in your yard so traffic knows where to go? Almost always people will say, yes, no problem. If you want to give them a nice thank you gift card, that would be great. Even better than giving them the gift card, say thanks so much. And in fact, I want to give you a gift and I'd love to send it to you at this address. What's your name? I'm going to send you a gift in the mail for being so nice. Then you drop them a handwritten note. Now you've added more to the database. Surprise and delight. Surprise and delight. It creates that opportunity. Okay, so that is the preparation for an open house. Now let's talk about how we can execute the open house. We've talked about signs. We do that the morning of. We walk the neighborhood. This is a great opportunity. If you have an assistant or if you have an agent shadow you, they can walk the neighborhood. How about loan officers who want to go out there and support you during an open house? Have them go and invite people. Say the open house is happening right now. So we're at the open house. You want to set up your table at the foyer. The door's cracked open, so people know the door's open. They can come on in. We have some light music. Depending on it, we've got a listing right now in Daytona Beach, Margaritaville. So, of course, we have Jimmy Buffett playing on the speaker. We have scented candles that make it feel more at home. We don't spend a whole lot of money on perishable foods. I used to do this. I used to go get the cookies and then everything else. But at the end of the day, I would just bring home the leftover cookies and eat way too much and spend too much money on cookies, which is not what I wanted to do. So we get more to like the granola bars or the things that we can, bag of pretzels, think airplane food, right? When they walk in, you set up and you greet them at the table and you are between them and the rest of the house. You're playing gatekeeper a little bit, right? You say, hi, welcome to the open house. What brought you in today? How'd you hear about the open house? You want to know, is it from Zillow? Is it from their Realtor? Is it from door knocking? Is it from the signs? Because I want to know, where am I working right now? The interview is started at this moment. Come on in, shake the hand, nice greet them. Address everybody in the family. Don't just address the person you connect with. Say hi to grandma, say hi to kids. Make sure everyone feels welcome because we don't know who they're buying for. Mr. and Mrs. Person in the open house, thank you. The sellers have asked that everybody signs in, and you just point them to a nice display of sign-in sheets. And they're prepped out, and they're on a clipboard, and they're ready to be signed in, and it has their information. In society, we have been conditioned to fill out information that has a little highlighter next to it. So a trick we like to have with the blank sign-in sheets, 2 rules we can do. Number one sign-in sheet, hand them the clipboard, and just put a little bit of a highlighter next to those 4 points of conversation that we want. The 4 points of conversation that we want are name, number, email, home address, and then ask them, are you interested in buying, selling, or investing into real estate? We want to know what's happening, right? So that's rule 1. And if you want extra things, you don't have to necessarily highlight them, but we're going to do that. Some people like doing surveys, and you can say, great, fill this out, and then you'll see it's a survey, and take this pen with you. And as you walk around the house, we want to see, how do you rank the layout? How do you rank the kitchen? How do you do this? And you can create a survey 1 to 5. If that's what you want to do, I think it's a great idea. We chose not to survey. It gave them work, and I didn't want to give them work. I wanted to make them feel the most comfortable. Another form of sign-in sheet you can do, instead of 1 sheet per person, is maybe you have lines, and you have 5 different sign-in sheets per person. If that's what you do, then here's a trick. The very first sign-in sheet, you fill it out with your name or maybe your sister's name completely full. Because when it's completely full, people will follow suit. Be like, oh, that person did it completely full. I better do it completely full as well. If you see somebody doesn't fill it out completely, when they leave, you fill in those blanks so the next person knows everyone does completely full. We are creatures of habits. It's why when you go to a conference, even as adults, if it's a 2-day conference, you sit in the same exact seat as you did the day before. And if someone's in your seat, it's a little bit uncomfortable because we're creatures of habit. We want to just go with the flow. So as we recap this, come on in. Welcome. What brought you in today? Fantastic. Our sellers asked that everybody signed in. Please sign in. And if they don't sign in, you are protecting between them and the rest of the house. They don't get to go, or are they going to put their shoulder down and barge you? I don't think so. They're going to sign in. Now, you might have some pushback. No, I'm just looking. Hey, that's great. Yeah, just sign in and feel free to look around. No, I'm not going to sign in. Tell me more about that. What's stopping you from signing in right now? We sign in on everything. Would they be able to go see the doctor without signing in? I don't think so. You are being interviewed right now. Maybe this is a seller. And you might go, I don't want to have confrontations. They say, I don't want to sign in. You're like, okay, well, go ahead then. And you feel defeated at that point. Like they just got the best of you. So I certainly appreciate you want to respect the privacy. And this is somebody's home. And I also told them, and tell them, and I also told them that everyone who walks through this house, I will make sure they register and sign in. Should something happen, should there's any feedback, good, bad, whatever, I want to make sure that we can communicate not only with you and to the seller. So go ahead and sign in. It's okay. If you don't want me to solicit to you, I'll remember it. I work with a lot of clients who do need my help, so I'm not going to worry about spamming you because it sounds like you just don't want to opt into some unsolicited emails, right? And they're going to go, that's right. Okay. And frankly, they can give you fake stuff anyway. And we have to be okay with it because we go back to the very beginning of this episode. If 9 people walk through, you need 1. So 8 we don't need, but we're still going to sign them in because that's the process. Once they sign in, here's your MLS sheet, here's your data sheet, here's where you go. I like to say, make yourself a home. Maybe not too much, right? Don't go in the medicine cabinet. Don't put your feet in the couch. But go ahead and give yourself a tour. If you have any questions, I'll be right here. I do this personally for me because 2 reasons. Number 1, I believe people want to look at the house comfortably with their loved ones, not with a complete stranger who they feel like have to be filtered. Because they're going to be like this, and they're not going to speak freely and think freely. I want them to discuss things in the open because then they can speak freely and really analyze it. So that's the first one. Number 2, I don't want to leave my post. If I follow them to the kitchen and I leave my post, the next person walks in without signing in. So I got to stay in my post. They're going to go in this way and let them go. If I hear questions, I might listen to them, and I hear them talking about the kitchen. I'm going to go, what question about the kitchen? It was just remodeled in 2020. That's quartz counter. We're going to just interject a little bit. As they come out, You stop them again, and now you're here. And I know you can't see me, so I'll turn around right now. You say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, what'd you guys think of the house? Is this the one you've been waiting for? Now we're in dialogue, right? Now we're in dialogue, and now I'm going, I got to close for the appointment. By the way, when they're looking at the house, it's when I'm looking at their paperwork going, did they give me the sign-in sheet? Did they give me a phone number? Is this a 4 or a 9? Now I've got to demonstrate value, right? It's always a trade of value. When they wanted in, they only got in if they registered. We traded that value. Now, if I want to verify that value, I have to give other item of value because they don't need the house anymore. They've already seen it, right? So I'm going to go, what'd you think of the house? Is this the one for you? What would you change? Interesting. Okay. How long have you been looking at houses for? How have you looking at those houses? I'm asking, how are you looking? Is it always open houses? Do you have an agent? Okay. Now I'm going to go, I'm curious, when you look at houses, and this is the script I use to book most of my appointments. When you look at houses, what's your number one place that you're searching for? Where do you go? And most of the time, they're going to say Zillow. Zillow's the number one rated site for consumers to go look at homes. And say Zillow, and I say, great, I love Zillow. What a great site. In fact, Zillow, when Zillow was created, it attracts the most eyeballs. Do you know that Zillow's model is actually, their platform is to sell leads to agents versus accuracy for clients? Now, they might know that, or they might not. Yeah, so when you go to Zillow and you click the button that says Ask the Agent, most of the time, that is not the listing agent. That's another agent who's paid to be on there. And you click it, Zillow has your information, and then they sell it to an agent who's paid to be in that territory, which is why you get calls from that agent. So Zillow's goal, have you ever noticed that sometimes it's listed incorrectly, or it went pending, or it went sold, but it shows active still? And they're going to go, yeah, it's not always accurate. Yeah, Zillow is built to lead capture your information because their model is to sell your data to agents. The MLS, which is our site, is built for accuracy. In fact, if it's not accurate, agents get fined. And when you click on MLS, it's instantaneous. Zillow might lag several hours before you get the information, and you can manipulate that data. If you'd like, I can set you up with a private portal through the MLS. You have a direct feed right with the MLS. It takes about 15 minutes. We can set up your search criteria. That way, number one, you know your information is not being sold to any realtor. It's going to one spot and it's protected. And number two, you can assure it has the utmost of accuracy and you're not getting wrong information. It takes about 15 minutes. Would you like to set that up? Most of the time, they're going to say, yeah, that sounds great. What do we just do? We just create an appointment, right? And that appointment's going to say, let's go have a buyer's consultation now. You can do it right there on the spot with your laptop. You can set up a Zoom call later on. You can say, come to my office, whatever feels right in that moment, but we're going to go ahead and book that appointment in the spot. And that's where we said we're walking out with every open house with an appointment. So they walk out. That's the interaction with them. You understand what they want, what they need. When they leave, you take their sign-in sheet and you write any note you can referencing that conversation, what they like, if the kids were going to a soccer game. You create data from that interaction and you put it on that sheet. That way, the next day when you leave and you have your sign-in sheets, you start your 8x8 campaign. And this is going to be that follow-up of what we're going to do to convert the open houses after the open house. You have your 8x8 campaign, and that's to take someone from a have not met to I met you, and we're going to cement the relationship through an 8x8 campaign, which is 8 touches over 8 weeks. This becomes part of your process. If you're using a CRM, hopefully you have tasks or reminders. Command has tasks and smart plans. You can set up a smart plan. So if you put in Joe Johnson on there every week, you can either create an automation that the system automatically sends something out, or sometimes it's just a reminder for you to do something. So the first thing we do for every open house, we take our sheets, we input them into Command, we set them in the smart plan. If it's a lead, we put them on our pipeline. We write them a handwritten note. Handwritten note has a business card and a magnet of your business card. Magnet, of course, people love magnets. Not everyone, but a lot of people love magnets. They're going to put it right up in the fridge. Now they think of you. Use the data you got. I hope Johnny won his soccer game. Thanks for stopping by. I know you were in a hurry. Sorry the kitchen was too small. Whatever reference can be there, you connect that relationship with that. You confirm the appointment. You ask again for the appointment. Maybe you share a QR code to download your mobile app. Lots of things we can do to build this relationship. And now we have the 8x8 ensuing, which means for the next 8 weeks, they will get some item of value from you to cement that relationship. Will some people opt out and say, please stop calling me, you crazy person. I don't want to be getting your emails. Sure. And that's okay, because you don't need to win them all. You don't need to win them all. If 10 people walk in and you can close one and you do one every week, well, you just closed 52 homes just from converting people through an open house. Now, here's one of my favorite parts of the 8x8 for open houses. If you indeed do an open house every week, couldn't you take last week's open house people, and your 8x8 or your touch for that week is going to be ring, ring. Hi, Mr. Johnson. This is Rick. We met at 123 Main Street last Saturday at the open house. I wanted to call and invite you. I'm hosting another open house. It's about 5 miles from there. It's a little bit different. And again, from 10 to 11, we have our VIP. I want to invite you to it. We do a giveaway. We do some mimosas. If you can come 11 to 1, I'm there from that whole span. But 10 to 11, I don't advertise to the public, but it's personally invited for you guys. Would you like to come by? Now, if they say yes, woohoo! If they say yes, say fantastic. How's your home buying search going, by the way? The conversation still with the goal to book an appointment. That's why we're in business. Book the appointment. If they say, no, thanks, I can't make it, hey, no problem. Just curious, is it just not good timing, or are you pumping the brakes and you're out of the market? I want to know, why can't you come? Just curious. If they say, oh, no, bad timing, hey, no problem. If you like, we can set up a private showing for it if it fits your criteria. Why don't we set up that 15-minute phone call so we can really get you set up and get a search criteria so we can do some one-on-one showings as opposed to waiting for the open houses, right? And they might say, you know what, that sounds great. Appointment done. If they say, no, thanks, not interested, but thanks for following up, hey, that's okay too. Next week, guess what? Another phone call. Invitation to an event. Just listing, just closed, a market newsletter update. This is how we build the rapport. This is how we build that relationship. This is how we convert people from an open house. I love open houses because it puts you in front of people who are in the market for real estate. If they weren't in the market for real estate, they wouldn't go to an open house. I love open houses hands down, better than farmers markets, movies in the parks, farming events. Because when I throw a farming event and throw a movie, people are there to watch a movie. When I host an open house, people are there to talk about real estate. Folks, if you're looking to grow your business and you're not making open houses the pillar of your goal, you're missing an amazing opportunity. Then we go back and we think and talk about everything we do is about building or converting our database, and I'll stand by that until I'm no longer a realtor, until something else changes my mind. But everything we do is about building and growing our database. Now, if we can go meet 12 people, maybe 3 have realtors, so 9 don't. So 9 get into the 8x8. And of that 8x8, you book 1 to 2 appointments. Fantastic. The other 7, either they never give you an appointment, but guess what they do? They stay there and they respond and they show up and they say thank you and they engage. Well, now they're part of their sphere of influence. Now they know you and recognize you. Tell them, hey, save my phone as Realtor Rick. So if you have any questions, you know where to get it. Invite them. Give them a Christmas card. Do all those things that says, I'm going to get mind share for you, and you'll be surprised. I have a success story from this. I had an open house. This is back when I was a brand new agent 12 years ago. And I did the regiment. And I did the handwritten note with the magnet, with the business card. I did the drips, 8 touches over 8 weeks. And guess what? They responded 0 times. And so I put them back in just kind of the drip portion of my campaign. And 9 months later, I get a call. Ring, ring. Hey, this is so-and-so. I'm like, hey, so-and-so, how are you? Then I'm going, I don't know who so-and-so is. And I'm looking up so-and-so, and I see we met at an open house 9 months ago. They said, yeah, no, thanks so much for staying in touch. We've been getting your emails. In fact, we still have your magnet on our fridge, and we're ready to sell. We're hoping you can come by and tell us what our house is worth. It worked. I didn't know it was working. Sometimes the touches and the contacts, they don't always give you the immediate response you want. It doesn't mean you're not gaining mind share. Keep doing the activities. Take the emotion out of it. Do the activities because that's what the playbook says to do. I promise you, you can close 36 transactions focusing 3 hours a day on prospecting marketing, specifically around preparing for, doing, and following up with open houses and open house leads, and you can have a fantastic business. That's going to conclude our open house session. I trust you got a lot of notes or nuggets or ahas, and I'd love to hear any feedback of what was your favorite takeaway from this episode. Or maybe what do you do that I didn't mention that can be another alternative way to enhance your open house even further. I would love to hear it. This is just one way to do it, and there's a lot of ways to be successful. And I would love to hear those success stories of how this stuff is working for you. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Again, Rick Bosley with the Bosley team out of Central Florida and 3L Coaching. And my number is 321-277-5791. Love to hear from you. And if not, I know I'm still getting mind share if you're still watching this right now. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. This is Real Estate Made Simple. Take care.